Good morning, good afternoon, welcome everybody. We are back. How are you doing, Alter?
I'm surviving. It has been a stacked couple of weeks, as you can probably tell by the fact that I haven't been around. Hopefully that will be changing in the near future, but yeah, I'm I
Until
haven't I
then,
haven't died yet.
until then, we're working on it. I'm your host, Alus Mobis, and once again, I'm joined by Alter, as you're probably very aware, and we're gonna be covering an ally has marked an enemy unit. It's really funny to me because I remember it vividly. It's one of the few things that I can say I remember vividly from GBO2 because it was such a funny match overall, and I think that you're all gonna enjoy it. Let us first look at the team. So, Alter,
Yeah, let's take a look.
our team composed of Alter in the Gelgo high mobility type VG, as always.
Yep, the VG is just like kind of it's a shooting general. Like it's very mobile for what it is, despite being kind of bulky, but you have 3 instant stuns if you count the charged beam rifle, so you have a lot of mid-range pressure. The Zagok E is just, I mean, it's a fairly straightforward aquatic raid. The Ifrit Jaeger is another shooting general. It's kind of just it plays almost like a general version of the Gym Sniper 2 on steroids, but you also have a shotgun because reasons. The Now, the funny thing is, this team comp would be somewhat lacking in frontline because I mean, 2 of our 3 generals are not really frontliners. They're more like range oriented. But we also have the Alex CA, which for a raid is surprisingly good at frontlining. It's like there's rare instances of this game of raids that frontline as well as generals can. The Galbaldi Beta is, I mean, somewhat of a frontliner. Like it's
It's a more
a
of a melee general, I'd say. Level 3 melee priority and double dodge roll force injectors. You know, it got a little bit of everything to be almost an honorary raid.
yeah, and it has the fast downswing, which is one of the main reasons to play it. And then the Isaac, which is a bit of it's definitely a very non-traditional support, but you know, you get stealth, you get jamming, you get the radar ping that you will see this dude get a lot of mileage out of in this video.
Yes.
On the enemy team, you have the Pale Rider D2, which is kind of a more general-ish support, like just very well-rounded in the way that virtually all the Pale Riders are for the most part. The Marasai needs no introduction. It's one of the most obnoxious 450 generals. That's also kind of a shooting general on the same lines as the Ifrit Jaeger. The Pixie's the Pixie. It's a stealth unit. It does stealth
Straightforward.
things. Yeah, the Pale Rider VG is ironically one of the less well-rounded Pale Riders, but it's also one of the better ones. It's easily one of the best 450 generals. It's a blue raid. Like it is just a textbook blue raid. The Alex is just like a very well-rounded, mostly frontline-oriented unit, and the Gym 3 Close Combat is kind of just a poor man's Silver Haze Kai at this point, but it's still very good. Like it's still competitive for sure.
It's an excellent set of teams because it's gonna make a very unique team fight, I'd say. So, shall we jump into the video and see what we got to see?
Yeah, let's see how it plays out.
Mobile Suit Team, it's sortie time.
I
Now, we should
admittedly
say,
do not remember.
let's say first of all we're in City Ruins. Now, a 6v6 in City Ruins is usually pretty chaotic, and we'll see it even here.
Yeah, I've mentioned, like, the talking point is that City of Ruins is a big map, there's a lot of space, but it's like, the way the space is distributed can still make it feel very small at times. Like, you're gonna be fighting in close quarters quite often, so it doesn't feel really big much of the time.
Now, the match here, I gotta say, we were both teams were very much on the edge of each other. We were kind of face to face constantly. The reason I went the Ifrit Jaeger, in all honesty, is because we did kind of lack a sniper.
We should note that this is pre-buff Ifrit Jaeger.
Yeah.
This was a while back, so
Yeah, this was.
this is not quite as monstrous as the modern version would be.
Now, we should mention already the Marasai has taken down 4 of my bars of health in the legs. I don't know why you'd use the bazooka with the VG, in all honesty.
Yeah, I hadn't even thought about that. I really never seen anybody use it. One of the selling points of the VG is that you have the option to use the Jaeger's beam machine gun, which is one of the best primaries in the game.
I'm getting already tightly pinned down and already cleared. It's the giant bazooka is still a very powerful weapon, although we already see the Saw dude, or as people know him on the Gundam Explained server, Wee Wee, already took down someone with the Alex's pants. The VG kind of ran right into his fist and got, well, melted with just a few hits. You got focused on as well.
Well, I mean, the bazooka is not optimal, but like, if the VG stuns you, it can still mess you up, so it doesn't really matter at that point.
Although it's kind of worthless against the LXCA because during the first half of its health, it's borderline.
Yeah, that's
immune.
another reason that you wouldn't want to bother with it, because the LXCA is still like, it's not super common at 450, but it's definitely not unheard of.
Now we gotta give it to that Isaac. You don't see many supports going up to a Pix and saying, "I'm gonna slap you with a melee weapon."
Yeah, he navigated that really carefully. Because that could have gone very differently. He could have been dead very easily if he hadn't played that the way he did.
My aim was
Or as
sucking
precisely
someone.
as he did, rather.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I was trying very hard to avoid this dude because my legs were gone, but you know, if my legs are gone, I'm gonna take his legs as well with me.
This is also really the VG's biggest weakness. It's just, it's not very, like, again, it's a blue raid. It's very melee oriented. It's not super great from a distance. Although that's another reason that you might want to use the Jaeger's beam machine gun, is because that helps you offset that somewhat.
I got the artillery called on me, and started again, caught someone with the kick. Sniper hit for a very good amount of damage. And my legs were broken, so I was gonna be a pretty much stationary turret for the most part.
Really good counter on the Pixie over there as well. I think that was the Isaac.
The Isaac was cooking. He was messing that Pixie up. I gotta give him credit on that.
Yeah, I don't know who this dude is, but he was doing something right.
You see rarely people that use mobile suits that you don't see often used, like Fierce or Sadud or Wee Wee, using constantly the slave wraith, and yet somehow making it to work. There are very few people like that where they make a set amount of units work, but those that do, well, they clearly are doing something right.
Fighting the Marasai in close quarters can be really messy, because the minute they pull out the Sea Serpent, it can be over.
Yeah. And somehow missed the dancing. Well, you gotta give him
I
credit
think
on
it was the rubble, the elevation.
Yep.
So that kind of made it awkward for him.
Yeah, I was trying very hard to help the Isaac, but there was nothing I could do really. I had seen the melee attack, but I kind of reacted a bit too early, I'd say.
Yeah, it's a pretty chaotic situation.
Oh, the Galbaldi beta took advantage of the situation, ironically. Speaking of the situation being chaotic, they took advantage of the chaos and completed the kill. So you gotta give credit where it's due.
More than halfway into the match, I was gonna say, actually no, it is still very even, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's really anybody's game at this point. And the game can play out very differently depending on how big the lead is, because it's like, if your team has a substantial lead, you can make the enemy team come to you. You can play very conservatively, you can just kind of turtle, and they got to play by your rules now. But when it's neck and neck, you can't do that, really. You got to press the offense. So that can really change the team fighting dynamics.
And I was trying to avoid hitting Fierce, but pretty much the only thing that happened was I was able to still hit the anti-air gun. Thankfully, the build-up stun does not work on allies, and especially does not flint the LXCA.
Yeah, that's fortunate.
You can hear an ally has marked an enemy unit over and over again. It's kind of funny.
A lot of marking and a lot of enemy units. But I mean, he's doing his job. That's one of the reasons to play the Isaac, because its arsenal is actually incredibly limited.
Somehow we were
Oh, there I am clashing with some dude.
in the middle of a chaotic fight, to put it lightly. I was dead here on the spot.
Yeah, not getting the counter on the tackle is gonna make that get messy really fast. If the Gym
Exactly.
3 close combat opens you up with any kind of melee option, you're probably dead.
Yeah.
Which is one reason I'd say that, like, even though it is in so many ways just a worse Silver Haze, it's still very capable.
It's difficult to find units that are really not capable in this game. The fact that the Isaac was pulling the moves that it was, taking advantage of its slow movement, was more than impressive. Here we see
So this
late-
is a bit of an awkward situation because once you start fighting around the highway, you have the things get messy really fast. Like
Yep.
things don't always, resolve cleanly because you have the multiple elevation levels. You can drop off the side, and yeah,
Ooh, a direct headshot. Those are a rarity. Another one. Oh, that's
pretty much the entire team taking the ramp is kind of interesting. You don't see that very often.
the Pixie was behind us, and I somehow got the counter because latency can be your friend and your foe. The fact that this has anti-blast stabilizers, but things like, I don't know, your favorite Ribao does not is funny.
Yeah, a double melee unit at 650 and 700 doesn't have anti-blast stabilizer, especially when it's generally going to finish you off with melee if it can go in safely. But this does. That's interesting, we'll say. There's a few other cases too. I mean, up till recently, to their credit, the RS Georgia didn't have anti-blast stabilizer, and now it does, which makes infinitely more sense. So like, they're noticing these things. They're changing it at least some of the time when it needs to be changed. Hopefully, we see more of it.
And we're done. Match is over. And we ended with a good lead in the end. So you gotta give credit to our team. The Isaac did an exceptional job at marking enemies and providing information. We had a score where you can see I had the most damage, I think. Yeah, I had most damage. You can tell that's the shoulder of the Efrit Jaeger. And that was pre-buff, so imagine now post-buff how good it's gonna be. And our good friend Sadud had gotten most diversions. An exceptional match, a very bizarre team setup, and as you put it yourself, it was a very unorthodox setup, even one would say.
It was, yeah. I mean, I think the Alexia having the most aversions there is just what's going to make the most sense, because you wouldn't want it on the Jaeger or the Gelguk VG, or even really the Galbaldi, because even though it's very, like, frontline oriented, it's not tremendously tanky, so, like, you don't want a whole lot of focus on you. You just want to get in, knock somebody down, and do your thing, and then get out.
Sorry, proceed.
Oh, go on.
I was gonna say, but overall, you gotta give it also credit to the fact that they were all using so often ballistics, because if you noticed, even the VG, when it should be using the beam machine gun, because the beam machine gun would counter the Alexia, it was using the bazooka, which even reinforced the Alexia's presence, because the way to set it up was not there.
Yeah. I think another thing to take into account is, like, playing the Isaac on a map like this, you have to be really incredibly careful, because there's so many, like, you turn a corner and somebody's there. And that's before you take into account that they have the Pixie. But it's like, it's very easy for that to go south on you. And also, again, the Isaac has a very limited arsenal. You have one primary weapon and then a grenade. And the grenade is like, you're really only going to use it in between reloads, or like in between beam rifle shots if you're using the beam rifle.
And the Isaac was not even using the beam rifle, it was using the machine gun.
No, he wasn't. And there's kind of cases for both. I do think if you're going to use the machine gun, it plays a lot more nicely with a team that has other sources of build-up stun, because then you can kind of layer in with theirs and you can very quickly rack up staggers. But the playstyle changes very drastically depending on how you want to run it. Like, the Isaac can run either the beam rifle to kind of play as this, like, pseudo-assassin that hunts down generals and bullies them and knocks them over and such, Or again, you can kind of play to use the DPS of the Hyzak machine gun, which is insanely high and has really high build-up stun as well. I'm not articulating super well. It's been a really long couple of weeks, so bear with me. But yeah, again, like really high DPS, really high stagger build-up, and it's also again like really good if you have a team that has other sources of build-up stun. So like, for instance, ironically, if he'd been playing it with the Pale Rider VG or the Alex, I guess we did have the Alex CA, so that is one example. But and the Ifrit Jaeger, yeah, come to think, it's still we still had a team that capitalized on it pretty well. A lot of different ways for them to kind of team up on somebody with suppressive fire.
Yep.
That's also something I don't see enough people doing broadly, I think, is if you have the choice of like an instant stun weapon or a suppressive weapon, and one of your teammates right next to you is already using like a suppressive like build-up stun weapon, you can use yours and just kind of double up on that, and then switch to your instant stun weapons. So that's something I would like to see more of, just broadly.
But I think this covers generally everything because, again, it was an excellent view of what you can do with the combination of good build-up stun, a good team, a player that fully utilized their unit because I wasn't using the Fritier at its fullest. It was like maybe my 7th match with it. And people will say by the 3rd match you should know it. Yeah, I'm not used to camera guns, I will be honest.
Well, it is also a higher skill cap pick. Like it's stupid, it's obnoxious, but it is also harder to play than like something like the Marasai, where you just really need to land that one focused shot and then it's over. Or you need to land the one Sea Serpent and then it's over. Or you just like Vulcan somebody down and then Sea Serpent and then it's over. So yeah, like the margin of error is higher. Like you got to be really consistent with landing your shots on the Ifrit Jaeger. So even if it is kind of power creepy, it is still like difficult to utilize really well.
But as we were talking, the fact that people do not use enough build-up stuns. Again, the prime example of the Pale Rider VG was using the bazooka instead of the beam machine gun. It might have been a meme pick, and they forgot the beam machine gun, or it was a meme pick in general. But I don't think that using the bazooka, especially with things like the Alex CA or overall with maneuver armor-based units, it would do really much.
I feel like the ideology for a lot of people is probably just like, well, I don't have to charge this. I can just pull it out and I have an instant stun. I don't have to charge it up like I do with the Jaeger beam rifle. But I think it's still just the benefits of using the Jaeger beam rifle outweigh the benefits of the bazooka so heavily that like you can still take that trade-off every single time, especially because like in the case of the VG, you can fire one burst with your primary and then switch to your beam spot gun in the arm, kind of like the Jaeger does, but you utilize those options so much better because you can just like run people down while you're doing it in a way that the Jaeger wouldn't want to because it's a support and it's not tremendously melee oriented. And yeah, I mean, like, it's a little different from something like the Gelgoog Stutzer, for instance, where you have the option of the same weapon. Or I think it's technically the Gelgoog Commander's version, or Gelgoog Marine Commander version, but they're kind of the same weapon. But in that case, the difference is you can open with the Sturmfaust, bait out the dodge roll, switch to your beam bazooka, and have an instant stun ready immediately, which you can't do with the beam machine gun primary. But even then, there's cases for using the beam machine gun primary as well. Like, it's definitely not bad. It's a playstyle thing, but that would just be the key difference, I think.
Overall, though, the best way to put it is always know where your enemy is, and hope that you have an Isaac good enough to constantly tell you where your enemy is.
Yeah, having
Because
a
that
ping
helps a
system
lot.
doesn't hurt.
That certainly helped a lot. Many people may say, but it's annoying. I'm hearing constantly an ally has marked an enemy unit, and I'm like, that means that they're doing their job right.
Well, something I really should have mentioned earlier as well is, like, if you're going to play a support like that on a map like City Ruins, having one with a ping system helps a lot because you have a more informed... you can be more aware of where the enemy raids are. Because that's the biggest thing. You just don't want to turn a corner and run into one of those. Yeah, you do. But, like, you don't want to turn the corner and run into those guys specifically. So if you know where they are, you can be a little bit more liberal with taking risks on that.
That and the Isaac was outright countering the Pixie because of the ping system and actually countering it. So you gotta give credit on the perfect counters.
Yeah, he was definitely doing something right.
But I think that covers a bit of everything. I think we talked pretty much about the majority of the match. I don't think that we missed anything. I'd say the only thing we could have done better is that I should stop going out on my own. I'm not playing a raid at the time. I should get out of the raid mentality. But that's just me.
Sometimes it can be hard to shift gears like that in the moment.
Either way, that was the. An ally has marked an enemy unit. I just wrote it as an ally has marked an enemy because it is better to be shorter. And
One of the operators does just say an ally has marked an enemy. I think Carry, the base one, just says it that way.
fair enough. I have Nate Hart, so he very well clearly says to me that an ally has marked an enemy unit.
Yeah, it differs depending on who you have, but the default operator does just say an ally has marked an enemy. I remember that much. Yeah, it was a good game.
Have a great day, and we'll see you on the battlefield.
See you next time.